Yeah, you're right. Well, so let's continue that story. Okay, so as it goes, Lamaitre, his writings were focused on something that he termed the primordial atom. Okay? So his formulations were taking place in the 1920s, and he was doing what a lot of cosmologists and physicists of his time were doing, trying to figure out what the beginning was. And so if you fast forward to 2013, almost present day, you've heard in the news this term, the God particle. And so the Higgs boson was discovered recently, and they're continuing to do their work on this particular particle. But they believe that they found the exact particle or type of particle that would be responsible for that very first creative pulse of light. So I choose not to become disruptive or take sides on worldviews in that sense. What we all, I think, can agree on is there was an original creation. And so Lamaitre puzzled that out and came up with this notion of the primordial atom. All right? We said earlier that St. Francis, he had come to this conclusion that was controversial, frankly, is still controversial in the Catholic Church. And this is the idea that Advent was that original creative moment, that moment that Scripture describes as let there be light. So Francis' notion was let there be light, and out of some infinitesimally small speck somewhere in the universe, a creative pulse stepped out into time and space for the first time ever. Currently, cosmologists, physicists continue to puzzle what exactly is that. And I honestly think that the church, going all the way back to Galileo and coming to the present day Franciscans and Jesuits and the beautiful observatories that the Vatican has invested in, I think that they're after the same exact answer that the scientists are after. And I actually find a lot of humility on both sides of that conversation. I don't find as much infighting between the church and scientists as was maybe when I was a child in the 60s. So all of them looking for the same answer. As it relates to your question about Lamaitre and Einstein, so you can understand Einstein was a rock star amongst the scientific community. E equals mc squared quickly became a bedrock of science. His formulations were revered. And along comes this relatively unknown cosmologist, physicist from Belgium, Lamaitre, and he's a Jesuit priest as well. And so he comes with this very curious resume. And he starts to peel back E equals mc squared, and he's convinced of something. He's convinced that Einstein had it wrong. And that's pretty gutsy if you want to be beloved in your community. And there was some infighting for several years between those two gentlemen. And then come forward about 6 years, and Edwin Hubble, here in the United States, concluded almost identical to Lamaitre. He too concluded that the notion that the universe is in stasis is misinformed, that the calculations just don't stand. And then there was this movement towards possibly, the universe continued to expand. And then in my generation, in the year 1990, NASA, and I appreciate that this is all theoretical in these decades, NASA launches the aptly named Hubble Space Telescope into outer space. And here humanity, starts to get back the gift of these photographs in the furthest reaches of outer space. Was Hubble right? Was Einstein right? And what they discovered, that's not really true. What has been discovered in the 30 years since that launch is that roughly 400 million stars were born today. 4,800 stars per minute. So you have this amazing bridge from the beginning of time. You have the Jesuits, you have the cosmologists, you have the current technologists of our day, you have Einstein, Galileo, Archimedes, all of these fractures of humanity with a throughput through all of them, taking us back to that very first moment of Advent. Let there be light. So in day zero, there is this original creative pulse. There is this Advent, there is this coming. And if there were 400 million stars born today, what creative source is flowing through you today? What is the life-changing, earth-altering truth that you're coming to today? Because what was once theory is now unassailable. That original divine spark is pulsating right here, right now. In you. I hope you'll do something with that.